You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now.
Hello, welcome to Tifo IRL. I'm very much not Joe Devine. I am Seb Stafford-Bloor. I'm joined by JJ Bull and Alex Stewart. We are, with the use of our tactics board, going to be picking all-time Premier League 11s and managers today. And we're going to argue about it. We're going to debate. Not sure how much, because Alex has already described this as a completely pointless exercise, quote. But let's see how we do. JJ.
Yes.
Let's do it one by one. JJ, you start. We'll go goalkeeper, goalkeeper, right back, right back. Probably not in yours because you'll have some kind of interesting system. Do you have defenders?
I have defenders.
You have defenders.
And there's no, you don't have to have a certain system, you can use whatever you want.
JJ, start us off. Who have you got in goal?
Peter Schmeichel.
Why?
Because he was amazing when I was growing up. He was absolutely amazing. He used to save a lot of shots, which was obviously very important. A real leader, very important.
Scary.
Scary, he was massive. He was part of that Man United team that seemed to win everything. Do you need much more than that? I don't think so.
I think you've made your case. Alex?
Yeah.
So I was going to pick Petr Cech because he has the most Premier League clean sheets. But I decided not to, and I've gone for Ante Niemi.
Tell me why.
Because I'm allowed
He's finished.
one... Was that a pun?
He's finished.
Okay.
This is really good.
Yeah, I'm allowed one emotional pick a day for anything, and I've used it on that.
You don't usually, I mean, you've usually used that up by the time you get into the office, the emotional.
Deciding which coffee to have, yeah.
Yeah, that's usually you done for the day.
I was a Southampton season ticket holder when that back four was largely Jason Dodd at right back, Niemi in goal, Svensson, Lundekvam and Benali, and I just associate that with a really nice time in my life watching football. And Niemi was a fantastic goalkeeper. I think he's one of those players where, because he wasn't playing for a team that ever won anything, he's always going to be overlooked, but he was arguably one of the league's best goalkeepers for sort of a 3 or 4 year period at that time. So he's definitely not the best Premier League goalkeeper ever, but I don't care.
Your first pick is because you associate a player with happy memories. That fair?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. That was nice and weird, but
Thank you.
We've started on a strange note.
Seb?
Peter Schmeichel, because he's really, 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 really good.
Right.
JJ, you're right back.
Right back in my Premier League team, and I don't think he's the best footballer, but you need a water carrier who will put in the effort.
Yes.
It's Gary Neville.
Nice, nice, nice. See, before we came into the studio, you were racked with doubts. So we finished our teams about half an hour ago.
This one I'm all right with. I mean, I was thinking, I think Kyle Walker is probably one of the best right backs. Pablo Zabaleta maybe would probably be my other backup choice, especially because of what he did with Man City and how he's just great as soon as he came in, because they weren't good when he joined and then they became good, obviously with the help of other players. But yeah, I mean, I think right now there's a heap of choices you could have. I think Reece James and Alexander-Arnold could easily be the two best.
So.
Alexander-Arnold's won Champions League and the Premier League. He's on his way to doing it, but there's slight flaws to him, same as there's slight flaws to Reece James, as there were many flaws to Gary Neville. But he consistently was always a 7 or an 8 out of 10, which is hard to do for so long.
Also, nice bit of chemistry, because Peter Schmeichel used to shout a lot at Gary Neville.
Yeah. And
if you read autobiographies of other Man United players, a lot of their memories of that time was of Peter Schmeichel shouting at Gary Neville in training and him becoming better at crossing as a result of it.
I think it's important to have leaders in your team. So, Gary Neville,
Alex, Jason Dodd?
Jason Dodd. No, Marianne Pajas. No, I've actually, okay, this is a slightly arbitrary choice here, another one, but I have gone for Steven Gerrard.
If I could raise one of my eyebrows and only one of my eyebrows, I'd be doing it now.
Yeah.
I can't do it, but...
Okay, so Steven Gerrard did play at right back for
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
If I could raise...
Basically, I wanted a back four, but I also wanted lots of midfielders. I think in the modern game, the way that fullbacks can be used for creativity, for cross-field passes, for dynamism down the flank, would actually suit Gerrard's game.
You're really right.
An incredibly talented all-round footballer. Defensively, not amazing, but we've seen...
He's big.
Yeah, like he'd be decent in the air. He could defend that channel well. And I just think in terms of... It's difficult because I'm thinking about how like my team overall would play like a particular Premier League side currently, Liverpool, obviously. And I think he would work in that slot. No, he's not the best Premier League right back, but I don't care about that.
We've put him in the conversation though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball next because we're going to do our defenders as a group in either a 2
Who's
or
your
3.
right back?
Oh, Lauren from Arsenal's invincible team.
Okay, sure.
Well, Arsenal's invincible team that like lost 4 games in that season.
I'll allow it.
So we're going to have grouped defenders because that's a bit more interesting. JJ.
The centre backs.
Yeah.
Nemanja Vidic
Yes.
and Virgil van Dijk.
Okay. Why?
I've seen Van Dijk play in real life when he was at Celtic.
Yeah.
And even back, like when however long that was ago, I thought he's probably the best defender I'd ever seen. When you're playing against defenders at Sunday League even, what you don't want to play against is someone who's massive, who reads the game ahead of you, and is quite quick.
Yeah.
But he can also play the ball. Like he can hit these long passes. He can hit the long passes out to the right back, which is really important if you're pushing up, like Liverpool would play, or it's just how normal fullbacks play nowadays. And Gary Neville would have the skill set to bring that ball down. Whereas Vidic, I was going to put Rio Ferdinand in because I thought he was amazing, especially at Leeds. Really composing the ball. Another leader who can he's just a good defender, Rio Ferdinand, right? I remember him being amazing. Sol Campbell was good as well. So the thing with Vidic is that he's frightening.
Scary.
Yes. I wouldn't want to be near or around him on a football pitch unless he was on my team. Bad things would happen to you.
I wouldn't want to leave a bad tackle on one of his teammates. I don't think that'd be a good idea.
But that's a good mixture, I think. Vidic and Van Dijk, you got crazy and cultured.
Alex?
Again, like I was very tempted by Vidic.
Frank Lampard?
I was very tempted by Jaap Stam for a similar reason.
Yeah.
I have gone for Van Dijk and Ferdinand. Yes, you could argue that physically Ferdinand is a step down from those other more aggressive, assertive defenders who push up and attack space. But I just think that combination, they're not going to get caught out by long balls in behind. They both read the game. There's an elegance to both of them. The passing ability allows you, because
They can both play.
they can both play. And I've got a goalkeeper who can't really play it short that much. So I want both my centre-backs to be able to do that easily. Also, Ferdinand can carry the ball forwards and play as a defensive midfielder. I think you're right, his time at Leeds is probably underrated in terms of the quality that he had there. That Champions League run
He was
amazing.
It's like £30 million he spent. It was huge back in the day.
Yeah. A really tough position to pick, actually, because there's a lot of good.
And you need cover with Antti Niemi in goal as well, so that's good. Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about goalkeepers? Because Alex is right, like Schmeichel couldn't play, but I remember growing up, like Schmeichel, the thing you talked about beyond his shot stopping was his distribution. Like he could throw the ball a really, really long way.
His throwing was fantastic.
And people used to talk about him as kind of, oh, he's the first point of the attack because he can release the ball so quickly. And now it's like, well, you just kick the ball away and that's it. It's really, really strange how things change contextually. I have gone for Virgil van Dijk and Jaap Stam because I like Stam's pace. He was also a really good long-range passer, and also
he was hard as well.
He's my Vidic, intimidating. I'm not leaving a stray elbow on one of his teammates during an attacking set piece. Because
I think he also read the game amazingly well.
I think Stam would probably been in for me if he'd played longer. It's because they had that whole episode where he got the car park or petrol station story where he got rid of him.
It's a little bit of an urban myth. I mean, yes, he left Man United too early by sort of everyone's admittance, but he'd also, I think I'm right in saying he'd had an Achilles injury and had surgery on it about 6 months before he left United, which took away a yard of pace.
Yeah.
That's Alex Ferguson's version of it anyway. But yeah, right, let's move on. Let's also, tell you what, let's do our, don't know if everyone's got fullbacks, but who's on the left side of your defence? JJ.
Ashley Cole.
Okay.
I can't see past Ashley Cole on the left back.
I think that's fair enough. Let's just, Alex.
Ashley Cole.
Andy Robertson would be my only one because I mean he's not played long enough. But
I've shifted Gareth Bale into a fullback role just because.
And you gave me for the Steven Gerrard choice.
I'm hosting. Like
Okay.
Joe, just because Joe's not here, don't chirp back in the middle of.
I seem to recall Spurs couldn't win a game when he played at left back.
Yeah, but
And they got him out, and
it's you know, it's fine. He did okay after that.
Fine. You two boys are going to cheat. It's fine.
Yeah, I have indeed. Well, no, that's not cheating. He is
Steven
a fullback.
Gerrard played at right back in the Premier League.
No, absolutely not cheating. Right, midfields, we will again do as a department. So, because that might be a bit more interesting. JJ, who's in your midfield?
The whole midfield?
Whole midfield in one, please.
I've got midfield diamond.
Yeah, lovely.
I think we should go through it more individually though. Do you not think?
No, I disagree. And also because, again, like, as discussed before, I've moved into the Joe Devine role.
And you're telling, okay.
And so if I believe, I'm right. So
okay,
just,
you're in control, you're in control.
Yes.
You could put your number 10 with your strikers though.
Well, what should I do? Should I do the 10 with the strikers?
You do what you want, and then I will judge you and give you instructions.
You put your 10 with the strikers or put with your midfield?
Your 10 would probably belong with your strikers.
See how I
We
feel.
can form an alliance against Seb if you want.
Okay, I'll do what you do.
Okay, my defensive midfielder, controversial,
Yeah.
I think, Fernandinho.
Okay. It's controversial and boring.
Alex doesn't like it.
Okay, why though? Because that's a pretty strong department. It's a pretty strong category.
Maybe a bit of recency bias.
Yeah.
But that Man City team that won the league with 8,000 points is probably the best Premier League team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And to have you need a player that can run that as a 6. And I think it's Fernandinho was it. Guardiola said that he was far better player. I mean, he says that about a lot of players have been amazing. But I see it. Fernandinho has pretty much everything for that 6 role. He's also an 8. He's a captain. Again, I like having those in the team.
Can play centre half if you absolutely need him
Can
to.
play centre half. Just a hugely talented footballer. Quite dirty. I like that in a midfielder.
Yeah.
Tactical. So reads the game incredibly well. I mean, there's few players that are better. I mean, think of the all-time best DMs in the Premier League. VIEIRA is more of a box-to-box.
Makelele's a bit more static.
Box-to-box. Makelele. It's not as good a player as Fernandinho. That's why I have to have him in there. And then either side of the 6, I've got Steven Gerrard because he's a midfielder, so I put him there.
Oh, is he?
Centre midfield, yeah.
Interesting.
Box to box.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing with my team, in fact, I will put my 10 in here as well to explain some of my tactics of this, with why I think it'll
The
work.
logic
so well.
reveals itself. Well done me. Well done me.
Steven Gerrard. Obviously, everyone knows how good Steven Gerrard was, but box to box midfielder. His best season for Liverpool was when he effectively played as a 10 or a second striker, and he was playing off of, I think it was Suarez he was playing off of.
And Torres, he had a spell when he was playing behind Torres. Yeah.
His best ever season when he scored about 30 goals, he was playing more or less as a second striker. He was really advanced positions all of the time. He wasn't really a midfielder, he was more of a 10 running in behind.
Had Jabi Alonso behind him as well, and Mascherano as well there.
Yeah, so he had the support of it, but that's when he was best. He was a good midfielder, box to box, but when he was in midfield, he tried to do often too much. So in my system, he's going to be on the right side of the midfield and be able to join into these positions to join in. On the left of the diamond.
Lampard.
No. N'Golo Kante.
All right. Okay, tell me there, because like to me, there seems to be a little bit of overlap between Fernandinho and N'Golo Kante. It feels like one could have informed.
Kante's best ever season when he was at Leicester. One holds, drink water, and he goes around buzzing about to win the ball back. Same at Chelsea. At the moment, Jorginho holds and he'll buzz about. But when he's played in Chelsea in a 3, he can go forward and do a lot of
Really
winning the ball
interesting,
back.
like how he's become like there's this sort of misconception around him, which is that he's just a slightly more mobile Claude Makelele, which is not true. Like N'Golo Kante's best moments are progressive moments when he's moving vertically on the pitch with the ball. It's really it was like that at Leicester too. So it's kind of strange that it's like his best position is just in front of the defence. Absolutely not.
My weird theory in football is that I've got whenever I've played, there's one of my friends at home. It's called Fraser Smith. Not the most technically gifted player I've ever played with, but you always want him on your team because he always wins or has the ball.
Yeah.
Always seems to have the ball. It's like you have 2 extra players in your team. Same people talk about N'Golo Kante. So that's what I think. Fraser Smith is like Kante from Old.
Do you want to do your 10 as well?
Yeah, I do, because it helps us. So David Silva of Man City, I'll put him in as a 10. And then Gerrard and Silva become like a 4-2-2-2 with 2 strikers, right? And then they have that, so you've got Fernandinho and Kante, perfect, 2 supporting them. Gerrard and Silva are the 2 guys who float about in half spaces and work behind the strikers. Can also go into the channels, but you play it as a diamond if you want. So I've got lots of different variations within the same system. And that's why David Silva was...
Loved a tactical foul. Like obviously all the other stuff that he did with the ball, brilliant, but also one of the subtlest cheats in Premier League history. And I mean that in a nice way, because that's what you want. You want someone who looks like a choir boy, who can get away with foul after foul after foul. Not sort of aggressive, injury causing fouls, but sort of just a little trip here, break up this attack here. It's a part of his game that a lot of people didn't notice for a long time, and he's just very, very complete.
His numbers, like his output was also really high all the time. He was always high in chances created, but also assists and goals. Had them. I think if he'd played in Spain at Barcelona or something like that, I think he'd be thought of much more highly than he probably is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, that is a very good midfield, and you are probably pleased that I let you introduce it all as one.
Yes, I'm pleased with that.
You know,
now.
that was that. You know, really. You know,
you should turn your sound
put
off.
it all together. I should do that. Absolutely, yes. Alex, your turn. Midfield, please.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the 3, and then I'll put my 10 in with my strikers for reasons.
So we had an alliance.
Yeah. Oh well.
It's great being Joe Devine, isn't it?
Fernandinho, I agree. Great shout. Fabinho as well. I also think, but I've gone for a midfield 3 of right to left: Yaya Toure, N'Golo Kante, Patrick Vieira.
That is good.
That's very nice.
And
Yeah, Toure was so good. I totally forgot him.
I completely agree with you about Kante. I don't think he is a holding midfielder in that kind of way. But I also think with him and Vieira able to cover into those spaces with 2 centre-backs who can push forwards and dominate the space in between the midfield line and the defensive line, I don't need a classic holding midfielder in that way.
Also, Gerrard can tuck in from right back.
Yeah, of course. Basically just playing with all the midfielders. I mean, Ashley Cole is basically a winger, huh? Yaya Toure obviously could conjure stuff out of nothing, that incredible long shooting ability, passing, there was a finesse to his game. Could run a midfield and also would push up and sort of move into that space around the 10 area sometimes.
Good set pieces as well.
Very good set pieces, yeah. Kante is the anchor in terms of, I guess, creating that energy and that dynamism backed up by Vieira. But like you say, Vieira, also a box-to-box who could push up. Kante, similarly, someone who can push up. And Toure could also drop in to a kind of 6, but like a ball-playing 6 role. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of flexibility in that midfield, and I think it would facilitate different styles of play depending on who you're up against.
I like it. So my midfield, I'm surprised there isn't more overlap here. I've gone for a 3 of Michael Carrick, Patrick Vieira, Luka Modric, because I have quite aggressive centre halves. Both can carry the ball out. I need a deep line playmaker, but someone who's quite static, someone who doesn't have a lot of ambition. Carrick's a great receiver of the ball, great passer of the ball, has a lot of calm about his game, was very, very composed.
Carrick in the best ever.
But he's a facilitator. So Vieira belongs in any best midfielder of the Premier League era, in my mind. So I want him playing really as an 8, because I think he was quite underrated as an attacking player, Patrick Vieira. And Modric is, I'm going for a younger Luka Modric, someone who's a little bit more of a shuttler, but with finesse, because I've got got a lot of creativity. I've got goal scoring with Vieira. Modric, I've got a progressive passer in there as well. And that will make a little bit more sense when I reveal my front 3, because I need to have balance. I can't just have, I think, like, I'm with Alex with Yaya Toure. Like, I think he's a fabulous player, but probably a little bit too box to box, has a few too many attacking instincts for this team. So Michael Carrick he's gonna be my water carrier in a kind of languid, relaxed, sort of strolling kind of way.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
San Pellegrino.
Yeah.
In an overcoat pocket. Forward.
Let us move on to, I think we should do attack as one unit 2, just because we might have a few differences with 2s and 3s.
And then when people watch this, don't have to spend an hour watching it. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, brevity is good. Let's keep the rhythm going. JJ, talk us through your attacking.
Thierry Henry is one of the forwards.
Controversial.
You reckon?
No.
Who knew?
No.
Yeah. I mean, Henry was one of the best players the Premier League's ever had, right?
Yeah, so Henry is a kind of given for most teams, but then it's about how you fit him in and what you put around him, I think. That's
he's playing as a part of a front 2 with David Silva behind him and maybe Gerrard behind him as well.
Okay.
He'd have plenty of opportunity to have fun with that. Cole overlapping as a wing back, full back, whatever you call it. And then my other striker is my favourite ever Premier League player, Alan Shearer.
Interesting.
I love Alan Shearer.
Why is he your favourite ever Premier League player? Because you can't just quote his goal record.
He would just smash into goals. A total leader. I really admired that he went to Newcastle because it was his boyhood club. He wanted to win things. I think that's real ambition. I know you say you go to Man United like he could have done to win trophies and leagues and stuff like that, right? That's the easy thing to do, and he would have won heaps. But instead, he came very close to doing it with Newcastle, which is very hard to do. Like, he carried them at 2 FA Cup finals. He also came back from like 3 serious knee injuries. So at Blackburn, he had a huge one. His goal scoring record at Blackburn was unbelievable. Like, I can't remember exactly, I've got not got the numbers in front of me, but it was incredible, his scoring record. Goes to Newcastle after Euro 96, where he was the best striker there, best player at the tournament probably. And then carries Newcastle through that 96-97 season, injured at the start of 97-98 when Dalglish comes in to replace Keegan halfway through, I think. And the goals he scores volleys from 35 yards with perfect technique. He's not like a bruiser. His technique for shooting is like unparalleled in the Premier League. Headers, positional awareness, anticipation, knowing where to be. He's also amazing at crossing the ball.
I was going to say, he was a brilliant... So
no one saw this.
In 1998, when in that England-Argentina game, when Beckham got sent off, Glenn Hoddle shuffles the team round and Alan Shearer ends up playing on the right of midfield.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a midfield. I guess it would have been a 4-4-1 or, well, 3, whatever it was. It was one man down. And he was absolutely brilliant. Like, it's kind of stamina-wise, engine-wise, but also like positionally aware, like tactical discipline. Knew to drop in the holes and block off that left channel, which I think was, I forget who the Argentinian players were on the left side, but that was a talented side. And he was brilliant. And he's a brilliant crosser of the ball.
He works hard as well.
I have a little bit of a question though about the Henry Shearer dynamic, because in different ways, they're both focal points. Henry's going to want the ball off the left side.
But Henry can get the ball earlier, Shearer can get it later.
Okay.
So Shearer's in the box to poach it. You can be the target man if you want to get out, but Henry can just carry it and go past people and drift in from the left channel.
Also, Shearer a good target for, you've got Gary Neville coming from full back. Across the ball. Okay, fair enough, Alex.
Same front two.
Was that right? You got Shearer as well?
Yep, Shearer and Henry. Yeah.
Saints legend?
Indeed so. They're unarguably brilliant. I think you could make a case for saying that Shearer is the best Premier League player ever.
Yeah, he's my favourite.
Certainly in terms of output, but also in terms of that all-round game that you were talking about. And playing in the hole behind them, Eric Cantona. Because, why not?
Yeah.
I think...
Was he that good, Cantona?
I don't care.
So many people love him.
Yeah, but Cantona created really the number 10 role in Premier League football. United bring in Cantona and all of a sudden they're playing like a 4-4-1-1 really. And look at what happens after him. So Cantona comes into the league and then every Premier League side around the country tries to replicate that. They want someone that can get the foot on the ball, express themselves and sort of sit between a midfield and defence. So Chelsea go out and buy Zola, Arsenal go out and buy Bergkamp. Everyone wants a 10 after Cantona. They buy. So yeah, absolutely.
What I want from him as well is, because he's effectively playing the Firmino role in this slightly weird system, and obviously Shearer, Salah, not a direct comparison, so that, I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. But I think Cantona can get forwards and create mischief in the box as well. He can play 1-2s with those other players. He can take the ball off the central midfield and create himself from it. He can drop off. I think he would be adept as a presser to a degree. I think there's an aggression there which would make him good for like sitting on whoever the opposition defensive midfielder is and trying to stop them playing out. Yes, I appreciate that it is not an ideally balanced three because Shearer is much more of a focal point, and I did think about putting in Salah instead of Shearer for that reason, but then I can't really have Shearer centrally in the dropping off role because then you lose the point of him, and also you can't not have him. So yeah, but it's fine because Steven Gerrard is going to run that right hand side and allow Shearer to tuck in, and it will be great.
So interesting you should bring up Mohamed Salah, because that is my front three. Thierry Henry, Eric Cantona, Mohamed Salah. I love the symmetry. I love the right foot, left foot, out to in. Cantona is kind of not quite Firmino in this system, but he's somewhere between a 10 and a false 9. He's somewhere, I'm gonna give him license. He can do what he wants to. He can stroll around the pitch and he can create. He can also use, I've got two obviously out to in players, but two very, very pacey, very, very skillful footballers who can get the ball pretty much anywhere and do anything with it, which also marries quite nicely with my very, very attacking fullbacks, my super balanced midfield. So yeah. Okay, so we have our teams. We need a manager though. So JJ, who's taking charge of your 11?
Alex Ferguson.
Okay.
I
mean, controversial. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he was the best.
You
may not know this, but Aberdeen once beat Real Madrid 2-1
you crowbar,
in the Cup Winners' Cup final 1983. It was good.
You do talk about that every day though. Like, that's the first thing you say when you come into the office.
He moved to Man United after that, 1986 I think it was, turned them into the machine that they are today. He also adapted constantly. He was never stuck in his ways, adapted, went from being 4-4-2 to 4-4-1-1, which is basically 4-2-3-1, and he brought in different assistants. He knew he needed to adapt, changed the way he managed as well, wasn't always throwing cups of tea at people, was often being nice to them, and one of the best ever managers.
Do you remember that time when you came to the office in full Aberdeen kit on your first day at Tifo?
I was probably celebrating the memory of the time that Aberdeen beat Real Madrid 2-1 in the Cup Winners' Cup final, 1983.
I think you just misjudged the dress code in the office. Alex, who's your manager?
Well, I think we're in a golden age of management currently, and it's tempting to look at people like Guardiola and Klopp.
Yeah.
But it could only be Ferguson or Wenger or Paul Sturrock, obviously.
Please pick Paul Sturrock.
Yeah, so no, you can't not go for Ferguson. And the reason that I particularly like him, as well as everything that you've said, is that Aberdeen once beat Real Madrid. No. It's the development of young players. It's forming a core of a team out of players that have come through the academy, shepherding that process. I think that's something that we've seen as so important in football, the ability to be able to transition youth team players into the first team with obviously the footballing aspect of that crucial, but also the man management, you know, the way that you need to shield those players from certain kinds of things. It requires an awful lot to be able to do that. And to do that with that particular generation and have them come through and be so consistent. And if you look at the number of Manchester United players that we've either picked or considered, and there are plenty of other ones who are on the periphery of those sorts of, like Dennis Irwin, for example, is, you know, an amazing left back. These are all players that were to do with him. And there's got to be something in that also.
Yeah, I went down sort of a personality route with mine because
Martin Jol.
Yeah, but just because I need someone that can coach 4-3-3, yes, but I've got a lot of big personalities. It feels like chemistry is going to be really, really important to my side because I've got players from different eras and I've got players that are very, very competitive. It's very, very important that they get on and that my team has is able to sort of foster some sort of spirit. So I've gone with Jurgen Klopp. I think this segment kind of needs a summing up, it's meant to be a little bit competitive. And obviously I've thought about it a lot and I think my team is the best by quite some distance.
I mean, mine is actually the best. There's a lot of players you also go through all the ones who missed out, but like Sergio Aguero would be just on the cusp of getting into everyone's team, surely. Roy Keane as well, maybe.
Keane, like you can,
That's Vieira's when I thought about it a lot.
I think
Wayne
also
Rooney, maybe.
Chris Marsden.
Marouane Pahars, Peter Crouch, but also players who, because of what's followed, like Cristiano Ronaldo, no one has Cristiano Ronaldo in their side. And it's also because it feels as if what it is to be creative and to play with flair has changed. Like in the 90s, your ultimate flair player is, I don't know, David Ginola, maybe. And now, by today's standards, like what he did. Philippe Albert, right, like the most sort of adventurous fullbacks. Ryan Giggs, no one's mentioned him. No one has Paul Scholes on their side.
Assists, right? But I think, like, certainly for how I've picked mine, I don't think this team would not function really well today.
Oh, it would 100% work.
And I think because the way we look at, as I said before we started recording, like you're trying to shoehorn individual talent into a team game. But if you think about...
Which is what you've done.
Which is kind of what I've done. But if you think about the way that we view top-level football now, where there is a kind of 4-3-3 system, there's often a sort of a false nine rather than a focal point. Yeah. You have pressing in your mind, you have centre-backs who are able to carry or pass as well as being aerially dominant and having good positional sense. Like basically the only player I've picked who's a bit out of kilter with that is my goalkeeper, because his distribution from feet isn't amazing. But in every other respect, that's a team that would function well today with a sort of Jurgen Klopp style Liverpool system.
It's kind of interesting though, isn't it? Because if you go back 20 years, 30 years, like, and you think about what the composition of a midfield involved. Like midfield was like a battleground. It was just somewhere where you survived, where you had two players that went back and forward, won the ball and gave the ball out wide. They kind of existed to like serve wingers and fullbacks and forwards later on. And now the conversation is about, right, who can drop in between my centre halves, who can take the ball off my centre backs, who's my shuttler, who's my 8, who's my 6. And I didn't really know how to end this now, but what we'll say is that was fun. That was Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
I was also right with the grouping thing. That really worked well, I felt. Like, without that, it would have been kind of long and quite boring. So, again, well done me, and well done you for watching and getting to the end. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you, JJ Bull.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alex Stewart. Bye.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Manchester United reporters revealed the truth behind the club's Jadon Sancho transfer fiasco, where the Tottenham reporters brought you news of Gareth Bale's return before anyone else, where the Chelsea reporters told us 3 days before his sacking that Frank Lampard was on the verge of losing his job. And you can try it now for free for 30 days. See the link in the description.